Stu, welcome. Thanks for joining us. I'm going to dive right in and talk about the pride of Hershey, Pennsylvania, Christian Pulisic. Chelsea, kind of his time in Chelsea, a little bit up and down, comes in, scores some goals. Next thing you know, he's on the bench. I kind of want him to become not just a star. I want him to take this leap of like superstardom on the world stage. Is that going to happen?
I hope so. If the U.S. are to do well, we need that to happen because we know how important when you get to a big tournament like the World Cup is. Every team here is a good team. And you look at the U.S.'s group, we've got Wales, we've got England, we've got Iran. The United States should get out of that group, but in order to do so, they're going to need Pulisic doing the things that you talked about that he's done for Chelsea, for his previous team in Germany, Borussia Dortmund. But when I've seen Pulisic at his best, it's for the United States in games that are important. I remember going back to the qualifying cycle. We needed to beat Panama. What did Pulisic do? Turn up with a hat trick. And I know sometimes people don't think that this kid can handle the pressure because ultimately he still is a kid. He's a young player. He's old enough, though. This kid is good enough. And I think also when he's in the national team, he feels like he is that guy and needs to be that guy and can be that guy for this team. So I hope that we see the best Pulisic. He's not coming in the best form in the club form, but I think for the national team, you're going to see this kid in his first World Cup. He missed out on this opportunity 4 years ago. He's going to want to right that and show everybody what we missed back in Russia in 2018.
All right, Stu, the first game the U.S. is going to play is obviously against Wales. And if they were to lose that game, there's still a path for them to get out of the group stage. If they draw it, then a lot comes down to the England game. If they beat Wales Monday on Fox, then I feel like they are all but assured to make it out of the group stage, no matter what happens in the England game. Do you agree with me that beating Wales almost locks up the U.S. for advancement?
I don't know if it 100% locks it up. Odds will tell you and history will tell you that winning your first game in a World Cup gives you around a 75-80% chance of advancing to the next round. So if we want to say that all but locks it up, I think you're still going to have to think about the fact that we play England and that they are one of the best teams in the tournament in the second game. But if you win the first one, you're going into the second one full of confidence. And then I've been watching a lot of Iran the last couple of days. This is a team that we should beat. It is a good team. It's not an easy team. It's not one that if we win the first, we're automatically going to get a point from Iran. But I think 4 points ultimately sees you get through to that next round of the World Cup. So if you get 3 out of your first, you just need 1 point out of your next 2. I would feel really good about our chances of advancing if we beat Wales. But as you said, that Wales game is the most important one. That's the one we start with. We've been talking about how young this U.S. team is. Wales haven't been in a World Cup in 50-plus years. So they're going to be pretty nervous in that first game as well. And I think it's a big opportunity for the United States.
Stu, you mentioned the U.S.'s Black Friday game against England. Everybody's talking about this game. What makes that matchup so interesting?
Yeah, we hope and we expect that that's going to be the highest watched soccer match on the men's side of all time. I hope we see that because why? England were semifinalists 4 years ago. My good friend Alexi Lalas compared them to the Dallas Cowboys in that every single year they come in with massive pressure. People expect them to win the whole thing. When they start to do well, everybody gets excited, and then all of a sudden they let you down at the end. That's what happened to England. They lose in the semis. They lost in the final of the Euros on home soil when everybody expected them to win. So this is an England team that is in, a lot of the players are playing in the biggest league in the world, in the Premier League. They're some of the highest paid, biggest stars in the world. But yet, when they put on that England shirt, that shirt feels about 15 pounds heavier because of the pressure and the expectations. That's the game that we're going to find out how far this U.S. team can go. Why? Because England are one of the best teams in the tournament. But if we put on a good showing, if we get a point, if we beat them, people are going to start talking about the U.S. instead of England.
Okay, so listen, I'm focused on the U.S. getting past the round of 16, not just out of the group stage. I mean, like, a little World Cup history, people don't know it. Very first World Cup ever, the U.S. made the semifinals. It sounds great, but then you know there were only 13 teams in the semifinals that got beat by a half dozen goals. The next World Cup, they finished dead last, and then 10 of the next 11, they didn't even qualify. Then in the 90s, they started to have a real program, and round of 16. Once we've been to the quarters, we've never been further in modern soccer history. So I'm focused on getting past the round of 16, which means I'm focused on Netherlands. So they are the team that is likely to win Group A. We're in Group B. So here's my question for you. If you could script it, would it be better to win Group B if that means you play Netherlands, if they are the 2 in Group A, or to come in second in Group B if that makes you avoid the Netherlands? What do you think would be the preferred path if you could choose your own adventure?
Yeah, well, Group A is a fascinating one, the one that you're talking about that we match up with. You have the hosts, Qatar, big expectations for them. Unfortunately, and I got to say this quietly because I'm here in Doha, I don't think they get out of the group. We have Ecuador, then you have Netherlands and Senegal. 3 other really good teams. Ecuador, an exciting team as well. So I don't think that you're thinking about it if you're the U.S. saying, hey, let's finish first or second because we might get whoever. I think that this U.S. team, if they get out of this group, they'll fancy their chances against any of those teams.
Okay.
Holland are a good team. They didn't make the last World Cup, though. This is them back in the World Cup. So they're going to have some pressure and expectations, too. They have some guys playing at big clubs. But I don't see the Dutch and the Netherlands as a club and a team, rather, a country that we should be fearing when we come to the United States if we're playing the way that we've done to get out of the group. Bring it on, man. I mean, that's what it comes to in that next stage. Go back to 2014. Remember Belgium? We almost beat them and then lost to them at the very end in extra time. So I think we could do it if we get to that point.
All right, Stu, individually, everybody's going to be watching Harry Kane. All right, the odds makers have said he's got the best chance of scoring the most goals. Tell us about this guy. Tell us why we should pay so much attention to him.
Yeah, well, Golden Boot winner for him in Russia in 2018 when England got to the semifinals. This is a guy who is one of the best goal scorers in the history of the Premier League. He's still in his prime, so that's kind of scary as well. And I actually feel he's by far and away the most important player for England. He's one of the top 5 players in this tournament, but they don't have a replacement for him. I mean, nobody would for a guy that's that important that scores so many goals. Putting the ball in the back of the net is the hardest thing to do in our sport. The U.S., we don't have a number 9 that comes close to Harry Kane. We don't even know who's going to start in our first game against Wales. England have had him nailed in to be a starter for the last 4 years, maybe even longer than that. So to keep him off the score sheet is going to be a challenge for any team. For him to be in the conversation again to be the Golden Boot, England have to make a deep run because there's guys on France like Benzema, Lewandowski, Messi, you might have heard of him, Cristiano Ronaldo, you might have heard of him. So these are the type of class of player when we're talking about Harry Kane and his quality for England. So it's going to be fun watching him up against the U.S. back line.
Awesome. Great job, Stu. Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.